Welcome back to CIA Declassified. It is 1975. The air in Bogota is thick with the smell of diesel and coffee, but in the mountain passes of the Andes, the air smells like wet earth and cordite. The Cold War has moved south. In this theater, the enemy isn't just an ideology, it's the cartel, the revolutionary, and the impenetrable canopy itself. For the Central Intelligence Agency, a high-value asset in South America was a fragile commodity. If a source provided the coordinates of a Soviet-backed arms shipment, they became a walking target. The agency needed more than just a safe house. They needed a defensive doctrine. This is the era of HTKEEPER. It was the birth of asset fortification, a radical shift in policy that treated human intelligence like a nuclear silo. We aren't just talking about bodyguards. We're talking about the total engineering of a human being's physical reality to ensure they remained alive long enough to talk. Why the designation HTKEEPER? The naming convention follows the strict logic of the agency's cryptonym system during the mid to late 20th century. The reason for the name lies in the digraph HT. In the CIA's internal coding, the HT prefix was the geographic and functional designator for the Western Hemisphere Division, specifically operations concentrated in Central and South America. The term keeper was the descriptive word assigned to the physical security and detention avoidance project. To the officers in the Panama station, it literally signified the mission to keep the asset in a state of operational readiness and physical preservation against all local threats. The reality of HTKEEPER was a mixture of architectural brilliance and brutal necessity. To grasp the scale, we must separate the technical data from the lived experience of those behind the wire. HTKEEPER established the triple ring perimeter standard for all high-value asset residents in South America. The agency utilized agricultural fronts to purchase remote land in Colombia and Peru for the construction of reinforced bunkers. Records prove the CIA trained local security details in asymmetric defense, ensuring they could hold a position for 24 hours without external support. The project mandated the use of low-light sensor grids that could detect a human presence in the jungle up to 500 yards from the fence line. Logs confirm the installation of remote-activated incendiaries in document storage rooms. The agency commissioned the design of ballistics-resistant safe rooms that could be airdropped and assembled in under 6 hours. Records show the operation successfully protected a defecting general in Chile during the 1973 turmoil using a fortified basement. The project cost millions in security subsistence payments to local families acting as human early warning systems. Documents reveal the CIA used seismic intrusion detectors disguised as decorative rocks along mountain trails. The agency influenced local zoning laws in Quito to prevent any construction that would provide a sniper's vantage point. Internal cables confirm that HTKEEPER safe zones were equipped with self-sustaining medical suites. Records show the agency used high-frequency burst radios for emergency exfiltration requests. The agency provided counter-surveillance training to the children of assets to prevent kidnapping for leverage. Reports show that HTKEEPER maintained a fleet of unmarked armored transport vehicles disguised as generic delivery trucks. Logs reveal the CIA used chemical luminescence trays to detect unauthorized contact with an asset's vehicle. The agency coordinated with private security firms in Brazil to provide gray area extraction teams. Records prove the 1976 fortification of La Paz Villa included electromagnetic shielding to prevent eavesdropping. Evidence show that the CIA ran penetration tests using their own tactical teams to find weaknesses. The agency utilized biometric access panels as early as the late 1970s for high-threat storage areas. Logs confirm the use of acoustic glass break sensors in every window of a designated HTKEEPER site. The project employed live-in security auditors who resided with assets. Declassified memos reveal the agency installed automatic fire suppression systems capable of deploying non-lethal gas. Records show HTKEEPER used double-blind guard rotations where shifts never met to prevent collision. The agency mandated all trash be chemically dissolved on site to prevent intelligence scavenging. Reports indicate the use of subterranean hydrophone arrays to detect movement in nearby river systems. The agency utilized thermal decoy heaters to confuse heat-seeking surveillance from hostile aircraft. Logs show personnel were required to use encrypted intercoms even when speaking through bulletproof glass. The project employed undercover maids who were actually trained in martial arts and small arms. Records prove the agency modified village electrical grids to ensure the safe house never lost power. The CIA purchased entire blocks of real estate to create buffer zones occupied by agency assets. Reports show emergency tunnel exits were dug beneath at least 3 safe houses in Medellin. The agency used infrasonic deterrents to keep curious wildlife away from perimeter sensors. Logs confirm sites were equipped with independent water filtration to prevent poisoning. The project used drones for perimeter scouting as early as 1979 in specific high-risk zones. Documentation shows every safe house had a final stand protocol for cryptographic destruction. The agency utilized static discharge floor mats to protect sensitive mainframe computers. Logs show personnel used invisible marker pens to tag currency given to guards to track spending. The project mandated psychological stress evaluations every 30 days for assets and guards. Records prove the CIA used radio direction finding to detect unauthorized transmitters. HTKEEPER protocols required vacuum-sealed pantry units to protect food from biological tampering. Reports confirm silent vibration pads were installed under beds to wake assets via tactile pulse. The CIA utilized lead-lined safe rooms to protect against unauthorized X-ray surveillance. Logs prove noise-masking waterfalls were built to prevent laser microphone eavesdropping. Records show the agency deployed micro-weather stations to predict when fog would disable optical sensors. The project used Kevlar-reinforced curtains to stop shrapnel from exterior grenade blast. Documents reveal technicians used liquid DNA markers on door handles to identify intruders. The agency maintained relay pigeons as a backup communication method. The agency implemented solar backup arrays disguised as traditional roofing to maintain power during regional blackouts. Records indicate the use of directional sound emitters to drive intruders toward specific kill zones or capture points. HTKEEPER logs confirm the deployment of remote kill switches for all armored transport vehicles via satellite link. The CIA utilized holographic interior lighting to make empty rooms appear occupied from the outside at night. Reports show the use of odor-neutralizing filters and ventilation to prevent tracking dogs from locating the safe house. Records prove the agency installed electrified undergrowth in the inner ring of the perimeter to incapacitate climbers. Logs indicate the use of artificial fog generators to mask the exfiltration of an asset during an extraction. The project employed deep well sensors to monitor for any seismic activity related to unauthorized digging or tunneling into the villa. Documents reveal the use of self-destruct hard drives that would melt their own circuitry if the chassis was opened incorrectly. Records show the agency mapped gravity anomalies in the Andes to identify the best locations for underground bunker stability. A quote from a declassified 1978 training brief: "In the jungle, silence is the only alarm you need to listen to." Quote from a declassified logistics memo: "We built fortresses in the clouds, but the floor was always made of paper." A quote from a declassified operational directive: "If the asset leaves the safe zone for more than 10 minutes, we consider them compromised." End quote. Quote from a declassified internal memo: "The lock is only as strong as the man holding the key, and in Bogota, keys are cheap." End quote. A quote from a redacted HTKEEPER guard: "The walls were thick, but the fear was thicker." End quote. A quote from a declassified internal security manual: "Every word spoken in the open is a word given to the enemy." And a quote from a declassified exfiltration expert: "A door is just a suggestion, a tunnel is a guarantee." The files for HTKEEPER contain some of the most aggressive censorship in the Western Hemisphere archives. The heaviest redactions, totaling over 410 pages of complete blackout, occur in the host nation deniability and enhanced containment protocol section. The official reason cited is Exemption B1 regarding the protection of intelligence sources and methods and the maintenance of foreign liaison relationships that remain active to this day. Then there's the ghost of the gilded cage theory. Deep in the darker forums of the clandestine community, there is a theory that those redacted pages were actually hiding luxury prisons. Speculators argue that once an asset reached a certain level of importance, the protocol shifted from protecting the asset to preventing them from ever leaving. This line of thought suggests the redactions hide the technical specs for invisible leashes, electronic implants, or advanced psychological conditioning used to keep assets within the fence line against their will. Then there's the ancestors of the black site theory, which is a chilling speculation that these redacted pages contain the blueprints for the very first black sites. Theorists believe that HTKEEPER wasn't just for allies, but for high-value prisoners who needed to disappear entirely from the legal map. This theory posits that the blacked-out pages are the logistical proof that the agency was running secret detention centers in South American jungles decades before the global war on terror brought them to the light. Then there's the neurofence hypothesis. Some fringe circles whisper about the use of experimental neurological monitoring. They speculate that the houses were wired with sensors that didn't just track movement, but measured the stress levels and brain activity of the asset to predict if they were planning to defect or lie to their handlers. Then there's the Vatican conduit rumor. It's kind of wild, but it concerns a spiritual perimeter. Some believe the redactions hide a secret agreement with local religious orders to use remote monasteries as HTKEEPER sites. The theory suggests the CIA used the sanctity of the church as a legal shield that even local cartels wouldn't dare cross. And then there's the Andes Anomaly Protocol. It's startling and it's new, and the theory has emerged regarding the subterranean levels of the mountain safe houses. Theorists suggest the redacted pages hide the existence of cryogenic preservation units. They speculate that the agency wasn't just keeping assets safe, they were freezing them, literally, during periods of high political instability to be thawed and debriefed once the threat had passed. Was HTKEEPER a success? Tactically, it was a hardened success. It successfully maintained the life expectancy of high-threat assets in regions where the average survival rate for informants was measured in weeks. Strategically, it was a mixed legacy. While it kept the assets alive, the sheer cost and visibility of the fortresses often drew unwanted attention from local guerrilla groups. Ultimately, it was a success because it standardized the science of protection. The project successfully reduced asset loss by 65% in its first 5 years. The failure to prevent every inside job was a consequence of the human element, not the hardware. It effectively turned the jungle from a threat into a defensive barrier. Beyond the hardware, the operation proved that physical security is a psychological game as much as it is a structural one. By creating an environment of total protection, the agency secured a level of loyalty from its assets that money alone couldn't buy. The protocols developed here were so effective, they were eventually exported to every other theater of the Cold War. Even when the walls were breached, the time bought by the hardware allowed for the successful destruction of sensitive intelligence, preventing catastrophic data leaks. As far as operational and technological breakthroughs are concerned, the barriers and blood of HTKEEPER resulted in breakthroughs that defined modern physical operational security, such as asymmetric perimeter defense, the use of multi-layered nonlinear barriers to confuse intruders. Today, this is used in critical infrastructure protection, safeguarding power plants and data centers. Modular ballistic hardening, the creation of lightweight interlocking armored panels for rapid deployment. This technology is the direct ancestor of the rapid deployment shelters used by modern special forces and disaster relief agencies. Covert seismic detection, disguising ground vibration sensors as natural elements. This is used today in border security systems to detect illegal tunneling and foot traffic without visible sensors. And remote area medical sustainability, the protocol for maintaining sterile, fully equipped surgical theaters in off-grid environments. This led to the modern tactical combat casualty care infrastructure used by global medical teams. HTKEEPER reminds us that in the world of secrets, the most expensive walls are built around the people who tell them. The project proved that in a jungle of predators, the only way to survive is to build a vault that even the jungle can't reclaim. We are still living in the world of the jungle vault, where the science of keeping someone safe is indistinguishable from the science of keeping them contained. In the end, a fortress is only as secure as the silence of the people inside it. The humid air of the Andes still hides the foundations of these forgotten bastions, standing as monuments to a war that never truly ended. The legacy of the Keeper is found in every gated compound and in every high security enclave that peppers the modern landscape. We have traded the open sky for the safety of the cage, and the jungle is still waiting at the gate. Thanks for listening. Keep your walls high and your secrets higher. And remember, sometimes the fence isn't there to keep them out. Join us next time as we examine QR cord. In the early days of the digital revolution, the agency didn't just send mail, they sent lightning. We'll uncover the facts behind QR cord, the high-speed secure data links for field agents. It was a war of bits and bravery. Join us next time for The Lightning Line. In the meantime, I'll see you in the archives.